Valley Sports Ohio, the heart of the fan.
The march to opening day continues. Our final telecast on this gorgeous spring, and under the lights will be the Redlegs as they close out play on Valley Sports Ohio, at least, against the San Diego Padres. And a very pleasant good evening. Welcome on down to the field. John Sadak alongside Cincinnati's own in year number 31 with the Redlegs, Chris Welsh. And Chris, tonight it's another go for Graham Ashcraft, who has been brilliant this spring.
He really has had a great spring. You know, it's kind of interesting because Ashcraft came on the scene really with nobody really knowing much about him last year. Had tremendous success, sidelined a little bit by some injury, but he's coming in this year and he's beginning to test a couple new pitches. His fastball, of course, runs up around 100 miles an hour. He's got great cut on it, but it's those all the auxiliary pitches that he's going to have to use if he's going to give the Reds the kind of innings that they need from him.
15 strikeouts against 2 walks. The breaking ball has been great. Look for Graham Ashcraft to ideally go about 6 innings tonight as he takes that final stride toward the regular year. We'll go to break. When we're back, it's a great night here at Goodyear. The Reds under the lights, and Jim Day on the way with word from Will Myers.
On vacation?
The San Diego Padres from Goodyear. Jim Day with you, and Will Myers, a lot of familiar faces in that other dugout. The former Padre in his first year with the Reds. Now, he will be relied on heavily to not only play outfield, a little bit of first base, but to hit in the middle of the Reds' order. And Will told me he's looking forward to the new challenge.
This is an exciting opportunity for me. You know, it's a change of scenery and a new place. I love where I came from. San Diego is a great spot, but I am looking forward to this new opportunity. It's a young team here, which feels a lot like some of the other things I've had early in my career. You know, so I'm excited to get to see what the Reds are all about.
He's a veteran that's been around the block a few times, has played in some big games, and that will certainly, the Reds hope, rub off on some of the young players that he talked about. As we go upstairs to the gentleman that'll call tonight, John Sadak and Chris Welsh.
Well, thank you, Jimmy. And to give you a feel for what Padre fans think of Myers when they played at Peoria, he got a nice ovation at San Diego's complex. Graham Ashcraft, 4 innings last time out. Those are the numbers from last season from Ashcraft, whose stuff has been sizzling this spring.
Well, he's always sizzling because that fastball sizzles in there in the upper 90s. And you know, the other thing about Ashcraft, he's physically imposing on the mound. He's 6'3", he's 250 pounds. He comes at you with a lot of energy. His fastball cuts and darts every which way. Not a comfortable at bat.
Snaps for a strike on Adam Engel. Now, 10 days ago against the Dodgers, his first 2 innings were about as good as he has ever looked. And then he left with a cramp in his calf. So all eyes, I think, rightfully went to his last outing 5 days ago against Cleveland. And Chris, he looked even better.
Well, you know, he's one guy that has not experienced that dead arm period yet in spring training. You wonder if he can get by without that. Back-to-back breaking balls right there after a fastball in the upper 90s right across the letters. And actually, that looks like a breaking ball, but that's a fastball. That's 95 miles an hour. And look at the movement on that. That's the kind of thing you cannot teach.
Has that natural cut in the fastball, the 2-seamer. And Tim Lopes, the shortstop. What are you seeing in his breaking ball? How is it different this year than last year?
Last year, everything that Graham threw was 100% effort. And the step that young pitchers gifted with great arms like Ashcraft have to make is figuring out how to back off a little bit. Concentrate on spin rather than velo. I'm just interested to see how he works that breaking ball in and what counts, where he starts it in the zone. Is it always starting high, or does he start it down low as well?
Swing and a miss, 3-pitch K. Defense that backs him up. The outfield, Will Benson to the left, T.J. Friedel is in center. Will Myers resides in right. On the infield, Kevin Newman at short, flanked by Spencer Steer at third, Jonathan India at second base. Joey Votto is at first. And the catcher is Kurt Casale. Big rip from Rougned Odor. We were talking some before coming on the air. You've enjoyed watching that familiar calm framing of Casale. It's an art form behind the plate.
Well, he's very good. I mean, they've got two catchers back there, and Casale and Luke Maley, that are, you know, would describe to me as one of the Reds coaches, plug and play. They don't need coaching. They don't need a lot of stuff. They've been around. They know what their pitchers can do, and that'll have a good calming influence on these young pitchers.
That is dominance from Brian Ashcraft. Three up, three down, all by way of K.
CMAX presents The Cycle of Savings.
Tyler Stevenson, the DH. Friedel, Newman, Steer. Kurt Casale catches. Will Benson in left field. A lot of those bats having strong springs. They're tasked tonight with facing Seth Lugo, who's fighting for a spot in the Padre rotation.
Well, he signed as a free agent, and he's got a spot locked up. He's not sure whether that spot is number 4 in the rotation, 5, or even 6. The Padres are going with 6 in the rotation coming out of spring training. Lugo spent the majority of his career, in fact, his entire major league career, with the New York Mets. Now 33 years old.
Jonathan India down 0-2. Lugo was a bit of a Swiss Army knife at his peak with the Mets. Could go in and out of the rotation and deliver at each role. Popped foul, first base side. Colway has it. And now Joey Votto to the plate. Still just getting his feet wet a bit this spring training. Any takeaways from his spring so far?
No, I'm glad he's playing every day. I mean, first of all, it's taken a lot of work for Joey Votto to rehab himself back into playing shape this quickly. So really, I don't look at results from Votto yet. I'm just happy to see that he's in the lineup every day, that he feels good enough, that that shoulder feels strong enough to play, and he doesn't have a setback. What we've seen him, though, a lot in at-bats is really not being very aggressive at the plate. You know, just kind of eyeballing up there, just trying to get the speed of the game adjusted in his head.
And he smashes that ball to right center. Chugged to second base, the first extra base knock of the spring for Joey Votto. Perhaps his best batted ball since his surgery.
Sounded good, came right off the sweet spot. Votto maybe thought he had one right there, but the wind not blowing out here for a strange day at Goodyear, and that goes all the way against the deep part of the ballpark in right center field.
He had been 2 for 13, both singles. So now he's at second for Will Myers. Just under 300 this spring.
Of course, with the Padres in town, they bring all their broadcasters and associate people with them, and to a man, everybody is saying you guys are going to just love Will Myers. The way he plays, the way he goes about his business, just loves to play baseball.
Big cut, 2-2.
It's Lugo's main pitch, that breaking ball right there. Loves his curveball, gets a lot of ground balls out of that when he's on.
Last time out on Monday, Myers launched his lone homer of the spring.
And it went to right field. We made a comment at the time that that's a good sign because he can use that short right field porch at Great American Ballpark, and he'll get a few of those.
Swing and miss.
Well, we've seen two pretty good curveballs. This one from Lugo. We saw Ashcraft dominate in the first inning. Couple of strikeouts on a big overhand curveball. Although he may call his a slider.
Tyler Stevenson, whose timing has looked more on point in the last week plus.
I'm really amazed how catchers like Tyler Stevenson can get through spring training and get their hitting ready because they've got so many other duties to do. Taking care of pitchers, learning the pitchers, learning their tendencies, learning scouting reports because they actually do go over scouting reports in spring training. Oh, and meanwhile, I got to get in the batting cage. I've got to work on a little swing here. My timing's off. You know, what can I do? They're the busiest of all.
A great feature, a 5-minute feature on the catching position, the mentorship of J.R. House. It's on the Bally Sports Cincinnati Twitter account today. Jim Day narrates it. Worth a listen. That's also part of our Outstanding Access Red show. There's JR, coaches third base and leads the backstops. Smoke to right, base hit. House is the windmill on for Myers. Scooped it right by Azokar. Votto home, he scores. Tyler Stevenson, a 2-out RBI hit, and the Reds lead 1-0.
You know, didn't you get the feeling in that at bat that Stevenson was waiting for a fastball? He previously took a curveball that was down and away, really good pitch by Lugo, didn't even sniff at it, and then finally got a high fastball. His natural swing takes him to opposite field. That's a good clutch hit.
That is vintage Stevenson. TJ Friedel. He brings some of that speed for this Reds team that's been more aggressive on the bases. 2 strikes.
Well, the Padres are giving it to him. Matthew Batten, the third baseman, playing way over around in the shortstop's hole. The shortstop playing up near the second base bag. That's about as much as a shift as that left side of the infield can do.
Swing and a miss. Reds get a run as Stevenson drives home Votto. Grant Ashcraft back to the bump.
Well, dominating, really. I mean, he threw that fastball early, but that breaking ball, look how he comes right over the top of that pitch, and it goes straight down. That's what they call a breaking pitch with depth. And 3 strikeouts, can't argue with that.
Strike 1 on Nelson Cruz, now 42 years old, and he still looks great. Seven-time All-Star. Yesterday was an off day for the Reds. It was gloomy and at times rainy here in Arizona. Today, cool and beautiful. Chopper to India. Votto with a stretch.
You mentioned that Nelson Cruz is 42 years old. I mean, that's old even by any baseball standards. But, you know, this team that the Padres brought over here today does not have a player younger than 27 in the lineup. And you start looking around the Reds field, Ashcraft is 25, India's in his mid-20s, Stevenson is mid-20s, Steer is young, Will Benson is young, Friedel is young. I mean, there's just so much promise looking forward.
High to David Dahl, and with that, Chris, comes, and you sense it being over at the complex, there's an energy about this group.
Yeah, there is. I mean, of course, if you can't have energy in spring training, when are you going to get it, right? I think David Bell's done a really fine job in trying to keep everything positive. For all the negative things that have been going on around the Reds and around trading away veteran star players and getting prospects that we don't even get to see yet, you know, you've got to figure out a way to get your team galvanized. How do you get them to know that you have their back as a manager and that the players will look up for each other? And he's done a great job doing that. And that's probably the #1 challenge for every manager out there, to make sure that everybody in the clubhouse knows that the manager's got your back. It sounds like a throwaway line, but it means something.
Landed for strike 3. That's 4 strikeouts for Graham Ashcraft.
He saved some for Cincinnati. How good is his breaking ball tonight? And it's all set up because Ashcraft hides the fastball well. He's got a quick arm. He comes at you kind of jumpy, and he gets your heart going, and all of a sudden you see that pitch coming, and it just, you can't pull the trigger.
As Okar softly serves that single, the first Padre to reach. So Ashcraft is getting his share of strikeouts tonight and during the spring. But last year, he got a lot of ground balls. How do you see the shift limitations impacting ground ball pitchers?
Well, I think it's not going to help him. I mean, especially when you're facing left-handers. But, you know, he's got enough stuff that he doesn't have to only live by the ground ball. Left-handers had a hard time with him last year. If you look at the splits, right-handers actually had better averages against Graham Ashcraft. I think it's just a natural progression, and for Ashcraft and Lodolo and Hunter Green, especially those top 3 pitchers, you know, staying healthy is the #1 thing, and being able to make advancements in your pitch repertoire. There was a split we were talking about where right-handers did a little better than lefties, which is very odd to think.
Swing and a miss. He twists Sullivan.
Woo, that's an equalizer there.
Continue our march to opening day. This little guy's excited about it. Full day of programming once again, a week from tomorrow here on Bally Sports Ohio. Kevin Newman grounds out on the first pitch. Here's the full schedule coming your way on opening day here on Bally. We'll start at 10 a.m. 10 to noon. Reds live opening day coverage will start. Then the Findlay Market opening day parade coverage at noon. We'll go back to the boys in the pregame at 2:30. You'll see all the live intros, all the festivities of opening day. You won't miss a thing here on Bally. And then the Pirates and the Reds get it on a little after 4 o'clock. And of course, they'll put a capper on it with Reds Live, the post-game edition after the game.
Did you just go Mills Lane there? Rest in peace, Jim Day.
What did I say? I
get it on.
Oh, yeah,
Let's
sure.
get it on. That
there
was
we go.
His trademark phrase.
I'm getting older, John. I forget what I say like moments after I say it.
That's why I send text messages to myself. I'm closing in on the
exactly.
Same. 2-0 to Spencer Steer, who's had a really nice spring, Chris.
He's solid. I think the Reds saw promise of that last year. The numbers didn't show it. His batting average really wasn't all that great, but it was a little bit of getting used to major league level time for Steer.
Tried to check. Appeal confirms he wins.
I just think you're going to like the way he goes about his business. He's not flashy. He is solid in as much as he's always there and he's always ready to play. And he played around the field quite a bit last year. I don't expect him to move around anywhere near that much this year.
He seems more settled at third base. Now, one wrinkle could be we expect to see Nick Senzel in a big league game for the first time this year on the back end today. And Senzel likely will get time at second, third, and center field as he continues to build up. Today, look for him in center. And Steers aboard, getting on base at a .420 rate this spring. Curt Casale stands in. You mentioned the size of Ashcraft, by the way, and something about the Reds' opponent. Seth Lugo doesn't always translate from that center field shot. He's a legit 6'4".
Aren't they all nowadays? I mean, the pitching staffs nowadays, you walk in there and you think you're walking into an NFL locker room. I don't know if the Reds are picking this up, but I've not seen Seth Lugo throw one pitch on the inside part of the plate yet. Everything is away, kind of setting up his breaking ball away that he's got a good one. That's what he gets a lot of ground balls on.
That's pulled through the left side, base hit. Steer slows at second, gathered by Dahl at left. Another knock for Curt Casale.
Little fastball that ran back over more of the middle of the plate than where he wanted it.
And now Will Benson. Soft ball. Asked David Bell today, since it looks like the Reds will likely have a lot of left-handed hitters in the outfield, among his lefty bats, who would he forecast perhaps staying in there against the lefty? He's probably going to have to do that with one or two of them at some point, depending upon how the roster is constructed. And he pointed out that Benson, granted AAA, did reasonably well against lefties last year. He hit .250 in 72 at-bats left on left last year. Steer hops off second. Strike. Benson also hit for power. Granted, that was a AAA, but OPS over 900, 17 homers, and just over 300 at bats. Hard ground ball right side, handled by Odor. They get the force at second. So Casale cut down, Steer to third, men at the corners. Perhaps no Reds hitter, Chris, the last 4 or 5 days has been more locked in than Jonathan India.
Yeah, India, he looks good, doesn't he? I mean, he is so much full of excitement. Can't wait for the season to begin, but I think his timing is very good too.
Runner off from first. Late break home, fire to the plate, Steer in safely. The delay double swipe, and Steer home. Benson to scoring position, 2-0.
Wow, the oldest play in the book. And it happens right here at the big league level. Normally you don't see this play, and the reason you don't is because big league players have such good arms. But that ball goes all the way to second base. Odor never really came in to cut it off, and by the time he got it back to his catcher Sullivan, Spencer Steer had a good lead of third base, was able to score.
We've seen stolen bases up throughout baseball this spring. Does that carry into the regular season?
You know, there are some scouts here, and they're writing that down.
Headlong dive. Able to make the play. Dahl takes it away from India. Reds get a run.
Play. What says the skipper?
I feel the same way. We're ready to go now. I mean, we have some work to do the last 3 or 4 days, but up to this point, you know, everything that we can control and all the parts that, with the workouts and all that have gone great. I feel like the quality of play has been good. Guys are getting ready, which is the main thing, and we have some decisions to make and things to accomplish the last 3 or 4 days, but very excited to get to Cincinnati at this point.
We've seen an aggressive form of baseball in spring training. Doesn't always carry over to the regular season, but can we expect an aggressive team?
Well, you know, you try to take advantage of the type of team you have. We think this year we have more speed, more athleticism. There's new rules, so running is going to be a bigger part of our game. You know, and just more exciting brand of baseball, which, you know, we believe can help us win games. So that's kind of where we are as a team, and we're looking forward to taking that into the season.
Looking forward to it. Thanks for your time, David.
Thank you, Jim.
That is the skipper of the Reds, David Bell. Let's go back upstairs.
Back to another strikeout. Through 8 hitters, Graham Ashcraft has struck out 6, and he has been overwhelming.
Yeah, and he's been doing it with a lot of different pitches, too. The breaking ball has been a strikeout pitch for him. That last pitch, 98 on the radar gun, and right across the top of the zone.
Taylor Colway. Yeah, I also thought that last at bat by Batten was an excellent example of what you were talking about with Casale. Because I thought that second strike, he held that frame, and it was right on the verge, and I think he has that presence. You remember famously Luis Castillo's meteoric big break came when they were paired up together, and man, that's nasty.
I mean, he's certainly not being very democratic with his out distribution. He's only had 1 ground ball out, so his fielders behind him are getting kind of lonely out there. But they're like us. They're enjoying the show. This is complete domination for Graham Ashcraft. It's the best performance I've seen of any pitcher all year, all spring long.
He is landing that for a sharp strike.
Yeah.
I mean, his breaking ball last year at times felt like a show me pitch that if it were in the zone could be clobbered. Good luck when he lands this. Jams him for a bouncer. Newman. 1, 2, 3. First time through the order, Graham Ashcraft with 7 strikeouts.
It's boat.
American Ballpark. Buy and manage game tickets, redeem offers, access exclusive content, and much more. Download the MLB Ballpark app today. Joey Votto, first pitch swinging, bouncer to the shaded second baseman. Odor the flip, 1 down. Hear the ovation from the Padre fans. A way of saying thanks to Will Myers for his years in their uni. A timeout charge to Myers. And there were some modest tweaks to the rule changes announced today. And some of the guesses when it first leaked yesterday, those announcements would be made. Hitters apparently were lobbying for a second timeout. They did not get that. Hitters wanted a touch more time about being alert and ready in the box. Pitchers wanted a touch more time than 15 seconds, bases empty. Those all stay in place.
Well, from what I've seen overall, you know, early on, it may have looked like the games were a little bit rushed. I don't see that anymore. I just see guys ready to play baseball. I've not heard anybody really complain about it.
Yeah, I think one of the subtleties of strategy that's now been injected into the game is the cat and mouse about when the hitter gets ready and how long the pitcher makes him wait.
Well, especially with runners on base. Now that's going to be a strike on Will Myers because he wasn't ready. He was in the box and then got out of the box, and by the time the 8-second mark comes on your timer, you have to be in the batter's box, both feet, and your eyes on the pitcher. And when it got to be 8 seconds, here you see the timer down there. He's waiting for you to get back in, and he didn't get back in time. Umpire correctly called strike 3. That's a tough lesson to learn, but at least you're learning it here in spring training. I mean, the old, I've got a bug in my eye. I, have an itch. I've got a cramp. That's stuff the umpire doesn't care about anymore. Where we used to see batters calling timeout after timeout, pitchers stepping off the mound, taking a lap around the mound, batters finally getting in, readjusting their batting gloves. All of that stuff is history.
Now, one tweak that was made today, though, on brush back pitches or on, quote, big swings that either knock gear out of place or have the player on the ground, the umpires will delay the start of the clock. And they're always going to have a certain sense of feel, right?
Yeah, that was always in the rule anyway, the new rules anyway. I think they're just kind of, well, what Major League Baseball has done over the last couple of weeks is alerted teams to a bunch of questions and answers. What if in this circumstance? And those have finally become public to the point where, the fans can understand what's going on. I mean, it's just basically a faster paced game. Okay, Myers at 10 seconds now. He wants to step out. Now he's down to 8. At 8 seconds, he's got to be in the box, alert, ready to look at the pitcher. He wasn't there, and that's why he called a strike. For him, it was strike 3.
Swing and a miss for Stevenson. Reds go in order. Padres back in Goodyear, and a special guest, John Sadak, Chris Welsh, and Reds GM Nick Kroll. How you doing, man?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here, and what a night for Graham Ashcraft. What a spring for Graham.
Yeah, Graham's pitched really well this spring. He's learned his slider, and it continues to get better.
I mean, can he get better than what you're seeing tonight?
I would think it's probably tough, but I would love to see it.
The advancement that he has made and that Nick Lodolo has made and Hunter Green has made. I mean, those are 3 guys that you have to depend on getting better from one year to the next.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're still all young guys, and there's still a lot of growth that they can have, and it's just continuing to get consistency in all their pitches and throwing more strikes. I mean, look at Graham from last year. He started in AAA. I think he walked about 4.5 per 9, got to the big leagues and walked 2.5 per 9. So it's just little things, but those little things end up adding up to being top of the rotation guys and still middle rotation guys at the end of the day.
2-2. There it is. That's a devastating pitch.
It's definitely a quality pitch. It's been fun to see him. It's been fun to see him mature as a pitcher and, just work a little differently, and getting him with DJ and Matt Tracy and Malone. It's been great to see those guys work together and him make progress even this spring.
We do a lot of talk, Nick, about the top 3 guys in the rotation, Green, Lodolo, and Ashcraft. But what about the rest of the rotation? I mean, you've got 2 guys that they're going to fill out the number 5. Some teams like the Padres are going to 6 starters. Which way are the Reds headed?
We're going to have 5. We'll probably have 5 to start the season. You might see us mix in a 6th starter throughout the course of the season. We've got some young guys. We sent Levi Stout down, but he pitched a little bit in AAA. He pitched pretty well here, just not quite ready to be here yet. Brandon Williamson's still challenging for a spot in the club. I think he's got one more start in spring, which is great.
Little backhand by Votto, Ashcraft.
So, you see these guys, and we're just trying to continue to get guys here. We had Andrew Abbott and Connor Phillips in camp. Those guys are going to probably go to AA to start, but then have a chance to continue to progress and maybe get to AAA, maybe the big leagues by the end of the season. And having a group of starters and seeing where they all go over the next year, 6 months to a year, and then beyond that has been a lot of fun.
It's hard to have a complete team when you're rebuilding, but is there one part of this ball club that kind of keeps you awake at night and you're wondering, I just hope this works out?
I think I'm really excited about the group of quality young players we have. It's, you've got guys that we see play really well in camp. De La Cruz, McLean, Christian Encarnacion, Strand. I think you're going to have a group of your prospects, and some are going to outperform what you think, and some are going to underperform what you think, and some will be right in the middle. So the more you get, the better off you're going to be. But it's been a lot of fun to see these guys gel together, and whether it's been in big league camp with the big league players or in minor league camp, or just, you look at guys in Double-A last year, and McLean was playing short, De La Cruz was playing shortstop, and then he got brought up, and they both started shifting second base, third base, and it was a lot of fun to see him. So,
Nick, stay with us in the home half.
Sounds good.
We'll step aside. Trucking this Padres lineup. John Sadak, Chris Welsh, Nick Kroll, generous to join us here as TJ Friedl stands in. Now, Friedl is part of this Reds outfield puzzle. The roster's still not set yet. What are your thoughts on the Reds outfield?
TJ has played really well. I think TJ played well, came up last year. He's really maturing as a player. Great kid. I should say great guy. But, he's got a chance to be a solid major league player. We were talking about the young players earlier, and you look at the outfielders, and you've got Will Benson, TJ Friedl, Jake Fraley.
Base hit for Friedl to right. Very much a base stealing threat as well.
But you also have Jonathan India, Spencer Steer, and Tyler Stevenson. They're all young players, and I'm excited about the young core we have at the big league level, and then all of the guys that you're going to end up supplementing with as they come through the system. So having guys here that have a chance to be part of the long-term future of our club has been great to see. It's not just, I know people talk about, minor leagues. It's not just minor leagues. The major leagues is very exciting.
Kevin Newman, runner off, pitch out. They guess right. Great throw down, tag, and he is out. Now, we were speaking some earlier, Nick. The stolen base number in terms of the volume of attempts and success rate is up throughout baseball. Do you see that spilling into the regular year?
I think some of it will. Some of it, I think guys are trying to figure out where they are, what kind of leads they can get. They're running a little bit more recklessly in spring.
Well hit by Newman. Off the wall. Throw to second. Newman on the slide. Safe.
But you're just trying to figure out where guys are, and hey, what can I get? What kind of a lead can I get? Even guys going, he made that obviously, but there's some guys that have taken chances going first to third because what kind of a secondary lead? You're seeing guys with more aggressive secondary leads in spring training, and I think from our team especially, you're seeing a lot more athletic plays, first to third, home or second to home. That's been a lot of fun to watch. We struggled to run the bases last year, and I think part of that was because of our lack of athleticism, but just different things, just different techniques being taught to run the bases and to get the most out of your speed.
Yeah, one of the more unique elements to this spring, I remember reading a quote that Will Myers taught this team about footwork on the lead off second the way the Padres do it in terms of sidestepping over, and how the runners have felt like it gives them a slight edge in getting an ignition to take a bag or to perhaps score on a base hit.
That's interesting. I did not know that, actually. I did not hear that. I know that Colin Calgill is very open. He's our new coach at first base. He's in charge of all the base running, but he's been taking base running very seriously this spring, and just trying to teach guys, hey, there's little techniques that you can have that get you from point A to point B faster.
One of the questions about base running is we always see more aggressive base running in spring training. You see less experienced pitchers on the mound, slower deliveries. But when the outs really mean something in a regular season, are we still going to see aggressiveness that we're seeing down here?
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see it play itself out. I think one of the other things we've done a little bit more this year is I've seen TJ Friedl try to bunt at least 6 or 7 times. We brought Brett Butler in a few weeks ago, and he taught bunting to our players, and he's at 65. He might be the best bunter in the league right now. So, but just being able to do those little things to get runs home that we haven't done very well over the past few years. It's just those are little things that hopefully will allow us to score more runs.
Spencer Steer has already walked and scored today. The Reds have employed a delayed double steal for a run. That's fouled into the glove. So one of the concerns right now, Luke Weaver, Lucas Sims both threw sides today. Weaver sidelined with a forearm issue. What's the latest on those two?
Both are throwing. We're both progressing. We're trying to wait and see. They're both probably going to end up starting on the injured list, but it's backdated 12 days into the season, so we're hoping to have those guys back somewhat in the beginning part of the month of April.
And the man of the play, Kirk Casale, has been swinging well. But what do he and Luke Maile bring, not just for your pitchers, but also even for Tyler Stevenson?
Yeah, both players are very good catchers. They're both very good at working with the staff, catch and throw. They know how to call a game. They're just good veteran guys on this, working with the staff. Kurt, I've known a lot better because we've had him here in the past. But Luke and a lot of people that obviously around Cincinnati, but knew a lot of people in the league that knew him as well, and both have a good chance to get significant playing time behind the plate because of what they can do with the staff. But it also allows Tyler to be in the DH spot every now and then, play first base, and get his bat in the lineup because he was our best hitter on our club last year.
Chop to third on the backhand. Nick, thank you so much. Best of luck this year.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. And I want to tell my kids to go to bed.
Go to sleep. It's a Rocky IV moment. 2-0. Red Legs tonight. They have a 2-0 lead. He's gone 4. That matches his last outing 5 days ago. The goal to get him to 6. But Chris, he's at 4 innings on 45 pitches with 8 Ks.
Yeah, how do you do that? That's a question. It's almost defies mathematics when you're that efficient. I think the Padres got to feel if they foul a ball off loudly, they've made a pretty good advancement on Graham Ashcraft. Ouch.
Check out the swings on some of his Ks tonight.
This is when you know you have a good breaking pitch. I mean, I really don't think for most of the scouts have been around a long time. You watch the hitters. You don't necessarily need a radar gun or a spin monitor to let you know that your breaking ball is good. You watch how these guys are chasing pitches in the dirt. They're chasing balls out of the zone. Their timing is off. I've always thought that some of the best places to watch pitching is from the behind the dugouts on either side, so you watch how the pitcher has the hitter's timing either on or right off.
He had a Zokar showing bunt and then just buckled his knees on the 1-0 pitch.
And he's in a hurry. I mean, Ashcraft is pitching like he's got an 8-second clock, not a 15-second clock.
Another ground ball. 2 down. And one of the other great joys of watching Graham Ashcraft, not only is the stuff outstanding, he plays with such a visible passion that it's contagious.
He's having fun. I think the other thing that will help Ashcraft is the improvement from Nick Lodolo and Hunter Green. They have a little bit of three-way competition amongst them, and there's nothing better to get you going than something like that. I mean, for Ashcraft and Lodolo, it even goes back to 2019 when the Reds picked them both in that 2019 draft. They both came out of college. Lodolo was the first pick, 7th overall, and Ashcraft was taken in the 6th round.
Another jam job. From strikeout bonanza to ground outs galore. It's opening day, presented by Cuties. A Great American Ballpark is on Saturday, April 1st. Arrive early for pregame entertainment and see your Reds walk the red carpet. Ball 1 to Will Benson. Reached on fielder's choice, stole a bag as part of that delayed double steal. It's grown noticeably cooler with the dipping of the sun. The winds have picked up a bit right to left per the flags. Floats in at 77 for a strike. And you can feel that same tempo and pace from Lugo here that you were talking about with Ashcraft.
I think that the way to make the clock your friend is embrace it and speed everything up. Don't always be looking out of the corner of your eye and picking up the clock and wondering how many seconds do I have left to start. I think the pitch comm, the communication between pitcher and catcher electronically, you know, they got an earpiece, that helps things speed along.
Opposite way, fair ball. Benson can fly. Dahl in left gathers, helmet off. Benson into second standing with a double.
It's a nice little approach right there for Will Benson. Kind of stay back on the ball a little bit, slashing it, using all fields. That swing for Benson is not one of these where he's trying to pull everything. That type of approach can translate to success.
India, foul pop and a fly out to left. That required a dive from Dahl. Shows bunt, drops it down, fair ball to third. Barehand muffed. Benson safe to third. India aboard.
You know, that's a play that Jonathan India would not use last year. First of all, bunting has become a little bit more in favor, maybe not like they used to be, but you know, when he lost the weight and improved his sprint speed, I mean, he's quicker. He feels quicker. He feels more confident. And that opens up a lot of things when you lay a bunt down. Now they've got to play you differently next time you come up.
Votto a firm double. He's also grounded out. Well, the guesses in the offseason, and it was announced that the shift would die, is that left-handed hitters could see a double-digit point jump in a batting average. We have seen a lot of balls get through for lefties, both for and against the Reds. And you wonder what that could mean for Votto as he continues to work back from his injury and surgery.
And you put a runner at first base and it even grows even bigger, because look at the space you have there between where the first baseman's playing and the second baseman.
This one's bounced to short. Flip, relay, double play. Benson scores. Well, the Reds tack on a run. 3-0. Myers has struck out a couple of times, once on a violation. First pitch, golf to left center. He didn't even square that. He turns, he's going to try for two. The throw to second, double.
I love the fact that the Reds are taking the extra base on those balls that aren't automatic doubles. I mean, if the left fielder cuts this ball off and he turns and fires a second base, a lot of times the guy will go a few steps around first base, pull on the brakes and go back. But the Reds aren't doing that. This is kind of what Nick Krall was talking about. David Bellows talked about it. I mean, for what they lack in power, they have to make up for in enthusiasm and aggressiveness.
Pickoff look. Myers darts back in.
Myers is deceptively fast. He's a big guy, and you wouldn't put him in the category of a speedster, but he can motor.
I mentioned with Nick Krall the leads of Myers that he shared with his teammates. It was a piece from Charlie Goldsmith on the 7th of the month when he noticed the Reds differed from the Padres in how they took their lead. And per his words with Charlie Goldsmith, the Padres would cross the left foot over the right and then hop into a shuffle, while Reds players would shuffle twice. And the Reds players apparently liked what Myers has done, and many have incorporated his style. In fact, Jake Fraley scored a run against Oakland in the series against Vegas, and he credited the technique learned from Myers with beating a throw to the plate to score the runs.
Good stuff.
Short, tough play. Sidearm throw in time. Reds get a run. Ashcraft back to the mound.
Twix.
It's weird to think of myself as a guy that's been in a game for a while, so hopefully I can bring some experience and some leadership to this team. I know there's a lot of great young players here, so I'm looking forward to getting to know them and working with them to get everybody better.
Well, he's already brought that experience, John. That story you shared about base running and base running in general. The Reds last year with the quick ramp up kind of eased everyone into the season. They experienced a ton of injuries. Every team did throughout Major League Baseball, but they made a concerted effort. They have run a ton more in spring training in the workouts, and it has really shown on the base pass. Jonathan Ina said this is the toughest camp that he's ever had physically, and I think they've gone the completely different route, that they do not want to ease into it. They want to be a leg-heavy team this season.
Appreciate that, Jim, and we are seeing that effort level. Kurt Casale talked about being gassed the first few days, being forced to run at the catching spot as well, but this is where it's paying the dividends. And here tonight, Graham Ashcraft, Chris, has now retired 11 in a row. He is firing a one-hitter. That's the only man he's allowed to reach base.
Yeah, we've not seen him ball out of the infield yet.
Wow. And he's still sub 60 pitches. 8 strikeouts, 8 groundouts, no flyouts.
He might tell David Bell he wants to complete this baby. That's a good looking pitch.
Yeah, right.
And the control that he has over that pitch, at least tonight, is, as you mentioned, John, way better than it was last year. He was just trying to spin the ball last year. I mean, here's a guy that really came out of nowhere. I mean, all of a sudden, you know, he's throwing this 98-mile-an-hour cutter in the minor leagues, and guys can't handle it. And they look down for a pitcher, and they say, well, Ashcraft's been pitching the best. Bring him up here. And it's nothing like the major leagues to expose what you don't have, you know, after you think what you have is good enough to get you there. So this is the natural progression for Ashcraft. And good night, Irene.
He's got 9 strikeouts. Jim Day is with Tyler Stevenson.
And Tyler was just asking me how many strikeouts do you have? That's number 9. So is this the filthiest stuff we've seen all spring, what we're seeing from Graham Ashcraft tonight?
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I feel like we're very fortunate with our 3. I feel like they just continue to get better and better, and I'm just very glad that they're on our team.
What has been so impressive to you about Graham Ashcraft this spring and his ascension to what we're seeing on the mound tonight?
I feel like a big thing, like as of recent, I think I've past like 3 or 4 starts, has been I know he works a lot this offseason on his like new breaking ball. It was bigger and like slower. But if DJ had the conversation and he's throwing it harder now, I think it's like 87, and I think sometimes it's like 90. It's almost like a hard cutter, which, I mean, he already throws a cutter in the first place. It's a slower version of it. But I feel like ever since he's done that, I feel like he's been unhittable.
What about the bullpen, how the whole pitching staff is shaping up from your eyes from behind the plate?
Better than last year, as crazy as that is. I know all three of them threw really well, and they're all determined. They all, oh, there's another one. There's a little glove. But they're excited for year 2, and they're going to come out and continue to prove everybody.
He's so nasty that we have to cut this short. Thank you, Tyler. We're back from Goodyear after this.
March 30th, they'll begin a 3-game set against the Pirates, presented by Altifiber. Changes for the Padres, including Josh Hader taking over on the mound.
Maybe one of the biggest surprises in all of baseball when Hader was dealt from the Milwaukee Brewers to the Padres. Hard-throwing left-hander, strikeout expert. Comes in, and yeah, he's one of the main guys, obviously, in this Padre bullpen. And they have a good bullpen. But overall, I think when you take a look at the Padres and you say, all right, how's this team expected to win? They have a monster lineup that they expect to just bash a lot of people. But late in the ball game, certainly is nice to turn something over to a guy like Josh Hader.
TJ Friedl, strike 1. Luis Liberato is now in the game in center. I believe that's our only other change. When Hader is really on, what makes him different?
Well, you know, as described by, I think it was Stephen Vogt who caught him a little bit when he was in Milwaukee. He said, when you catch Hader, all you see are arms, legs, and hair. And somewhere in there's a baseball, and it's coming in the, you know, the mid-90s. But a lot of it's deception.
Oh, great bunt. TJ Friedl's second knock of the night. That's 2 bunt base hits for the Reds.
Now, this is especially tough because you've got one of the toughest left-handers in all of baseball here. You're a left-handed hitter. You're wondering, all right, now what am I supposed to do up here? And by being able to wait on that ball and then kind of carrying it with you, that's a drag bunt when you pull it down the first base line like that. That is money. Man. Somewhere Brett Butler is smiling.
And Nick Kroll mentioned it. The outstanding bunt artiste was brought into camp about a week ago. He's been in a few times, but that was the longest session. Buntapalooza, as it was called on the schedule.
I mean, it's hard to believe, you know. I'm surprised they didn't bring in Brett Butler a few years ago, but bunting had just become such a non-factor in all of baseball. Everybody trying to hit home runs, and why try to push something that wasn't going to work? But when Brett Butler attempted a bunt in his major league career, his batting average was .470. His batting average. So, I mean, even if you only get one every once in a while, it gives you something to think about. And now Friedl has given Hader something else to think about by forcing one step off. He's got one more disengagement, a throw over left, before he can't throw over anymore.
You know, something else that Butler was excellent at, fouling off pitches. Something that Jeff Brantley recalls rather vividly. And it does feel, Chris, like we're seeing a little more 2-strike approach throughout the game. And a 2-strike approach that is coming for some hitters the entirety of an at-bat. It's not just with 2 strikes. There's a walk.
And how much of that walk is perhaps a little bit of the mind of Josh Hader on the runner at first base?
Hader trying to dig in here. Spencer Steer, he's walked and scored. He's also struck out. showing the ball, no throw. Now, Bobby Nightingale tweeted out a few minutes ago, Chris, the lines on the Reds' core young starters in each of their respective last spring starts. Ashcraft tonight, 6 innings, 1 hit, 10 Ks, no walks, no runs. Hunter Green, 5 innings, 1 earning, 7 Ks, no walks, couple of hits. And Nick Lodolo, 6 scoreless, 3 hits, 8 strikeouts, 3 walks.
Wow.
All 3 look super sharp.
Keep him right there.
Runners go, double steal, pitch misses in, thrown out, no shot. What a jump by the lead man, TJ Friedel. And that ensured the Reds would get them both.
You know, sometimes when that runner at second base gets such a big jump like that, you see Friedel is running. I mean, Hader really never made him stop out there, which is a cardinal sin for a pitcher. Sometimes that throw will go to the back runner because your best shot is getting him. Because he doesn't break until he knows that that guy at second base is going, but he may have had a much bigger lead at first base. So, you know, a lot of different ways to skin a cat.
Hader right there. Josh Hader.
And you wonder, you know, the throws to second, it's something that plays into the Reds' delayed double steal. So often, teams in recent years would fake throws to second, try to get that lead man to come home, get him in a rundown. Will we, that's a great point, Chris, start to see more throws to second base? Is there a bit of a gamble on each side?
Depends about who's catching, the strength of the throwing arms.
Oh,
who's the runner at third? Is that a strike?
Oh, well, it's called that. Let's see.
You be the judge. Oof. Like a changeup.
Now the infield in. Kurt Casale. That'll be good for a run. Both runners tag. Throw goes to third. Friedel scores. Newman slides into third. Sac fly RBI for Kurt Casale. 4-0. Hader gets an escort from his catcher Sullivan back toward the mound. Now, he's had some issue, it seems like. He was stomping that cleat right in the beginning of this inning, trying to get footing.
Well, umpires have been instructed to make sure that players are not taking advantage of little excuses to delay the time of the game and delay that time clock. And that's one reason why, you know, Hader went in to get that popsicle stick out there to be able to clean his cleats. You know, sometimes it's not fun to try to pitch with your cleats all full of clay.
There he is trying to kick it free, and
when the boot scraper is not working, you get the popsicle stick.
I would prefer it with the popsicle still on it.
Yeah, you know, that's not a bad idea.
Will Benson.
Maybe a drumstick would be okay too. That would work. It's a good test for Benson right here. If he wants to show David Bell that he can hit left-handers, this is about as good as it gets.
Yeah.
95.
Yeah, last year Hader threw in the postseason for the Padres. He was brilliant. He threw the ball as hard as he ever had. He actually reaching 100 miles per hour.
Benson strikes out. Graham Ashcraft. Could he be done?
It's bow time.
6 dominant innings of one-hit ball by Graham Ashcraft. He struck out 10. He retired the last 13 in a row.
It was about as good as I've seen any pitcher pitch here in Arizona this spring. And I mean, he was dominant. That breaking ball that you heard Tyler Stevenson talk of, taking a little bit of speed off of it, staying right over the top. It's a slider, but it's at 87 miles an hour. And boy, he had some serious break on that pitch tonight.
And he still gets some more throws in because he was so efficient. He still has some bullets left there.
Maybe he's going to come back and close the game out.
Hunter Strickland is in. Now one other big change into the game in center field. The first big league outing of this spring for Nick Senzel. Luke Maile is now catching. Comebacker off Strickland, ricochets to short. Fire to first in time.
Well, this ball hit very sharply right back at the pitcher Strickland, but look at the arm that Kevin Newman shows right here. I mean, he picks and fires, really doesn't even do much except take one step. No crow hop. That's a better arm than I thought that Kevin Newman had. That's impressive.
Rougned Odor. First pitch lifted. Benson. The numbers for Hunter Strickland this spring, who, when I chatted with him earlier in spring, Chris, he said the splitter was something he was hoping to incorporate more this year.
You know, last year he did pick up 7 saves for the Reds. He walked a lot of batters, though. He walked almost 4.5 batters per 9 innings. So, which is kind of out of character for him. That's an easy inning.
1, 2, 3. Saturday, April 1st. Kids 14 and younger at the game receive a Kids Opening Day Reds cap thanks to Cincinnati Children's Hospital while supplies last. While we were away, Hunter Strickland, bit of a thank you to his shortstop Kevin Newman. Able to handle on the ricochet. Jonathan India takes his strike. Jim Day with pitching coach Derek Johnson.
John, thank you very much. We put up the numbers of your top 3 starters, what they've done in their last starts. Pretty impressive. What says the pitching coach? How pleased are you?
Yeah, really pleased. I mean, you know, you're really just trying to get them up in number of pitches and get the ups on the innings. In the meantime, these guys are throwing the ball pretty good, and tonight was pretty fun to watch. I mean, the kid moved through 6 innings and not a whole lot of pitches.
Very efficient. In fact, went down to the bullpen to get some pitches in. We've been harping on this 3rd pitch for Graham Ashcraft. What is the difference to what we saw here tonight?
Well, the last couple of times he's thrown it harder. He's been able to throw it essentially 5 miles an hour harder than what. And it's just, you know, it's a harder pitch to hit because it's faster. Still got a lot of movement on it, but it's faster. So it's been a really cool thing to watch the last couple, 3 times out.
You guys still have some decisions to make. 4th and 5th starter, a couple spots in the bullpen. When will you make those?
Probably about the last day. I'm not sure. I mean, it's neck and neck, and there's a lot of really good guys there that we want to give every opportunity to throw the baseball for us, and we'll just kind of have to wait and see it. But it's going to come down in the end.
Thanks for your time, DJ.
Yeah, you got it.
Eric Johnson, let's go back upstairs.
Well, thank you, Jim. And you can see under Derek Johnson the continued growth. You know, something that caught your attention right at the start of spring, Chris, was the bit of a change-up school that DJ employed.
Yeah, I think that DJ is one of the best communicators that I've ever seen wearing a coaching uniform. I mean, he just, and he doesn't say the same thing to every different kind of pitcher. He's got a knack for being able to take a look at a picture and say, all right, this guy is best if you use this type of stuff in these circumstances, and then tailor that to a different pitcher and so on. And I think the Reds are very fortunate to have him. But he brought the number of the starting pitchers into Tennessee. You know, he's had roots in Vanderbilt and went down to the Vanderbilt, worked inside, and basically called it a changeup camp. And Hunter Green said it was very helpful. Nick Lodolo had already thrown a changeup in college, so he kind of had an edge up. And interesting. It was a great approach, and it's really worked out.
Authority of the Cincinnati Reds and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Reds. Only one Padre has reached base. A combined one hitter, 16 in a row retired. Joey Votto done. Jason Vossler takes over at first. And the new man on the mound is Reiver Sanmartin.
You know, Sanmartin is a great example of a pitcher that the Reds had very high hopes on to be a starter. And he changed speeds. He had a couple of different pitches. He had a lot of movement. And it just did not work out for him. He lost his confidence completely, especially after one particular start there in Colorado where they just banged him all over the place. And then they sent him down, and he kind of relearned what he needed to do, but came out of the bullpen. And look at the numbers that he posted in 41 games. He was 4-0. And compared to what he did as a starter, I mean, it's like night and day. And he is the only left-hander right now absolutely assured of a spot in that bullpen. Reds are looking at a couple of others, but you know, Sanmartin is. David Bell knows what he gets when he sends Sanmartin out there.
Dahl to left. Benson won't get there off the wall. Throw to second. Safe slide. It's just the second Padre to reach.
Dahl has always had a lot of power. He played in Arizona, and he was always a very good athlete. I'm not sure how he hit this pitch. This is a breaking ball that was down around the dirt, and he just golfs it opposite field, nearly goes out of the ballpark. Well, not near the dirt, but certainly below the knees.
That snaps the string of 16 in a row retired. The only other Padre to reach, the man at the plate, Zokar singled in the second. Now, you mentioned the bullpen in Sanmartin. The lone lefty as of now guaranteed, it would seem. Jim Day, it was a big day for both Lucas Sims and Luke Weber. You were there to watch them throw sides. We'll see if we can get word from Jimmy later.
And maybe he went back to the barbecue shack.
It's not a bad idea. We did have some great brisket today.
Delicious.
Stumble by
That would be a balk.
Dahl to third. The same footing issues. We saw Graham Ashcraft working at his cleats when he was in the dugout between innings. Hader had the tongue depressor out, cleaning his cleats. Tied him up. Yeah, Nick Kroll had said that Weber and Sims probably on the IL to begin the year. Sims coming off his back injury. Weber had the forearm tightness. Rolled foul. Jimmy, I assume you got the barbecue now well in hand. What did you see in their sides today?
It's conspiracy, Welsh. Had to not open my mic. No. Luke Weaver looked very, very, very good throwing his bullpen today. In fact, I talked to him afterwards, and he says it's the best that the ball has come out of his hand all spring long. Now, granted, he was throwing to air, but he'll still most likely start on the injured list just because of the setback that he had. But good sign there that he felt good and looked good, as did Lucas Sims, who went through a bullpen today. But again, the setback, they're going to ease those guys in, so expect them to start on the IL, but both made progress today.
That's good news. Dahl a decent lead. He's just past the cut. And foul ground at third. A few stomps of the cleat from Santa Martin, seemingly playing the same issue that hounded Hader. To right center. That's going to mean a run. Dahl crosses. Padres on the board. 4-1.
Yeah, Sullivan got a little bit of a hanging breaking ball right there, and he didn't move at all. That ball started on the inner part of the plate, and he just saw it that spin right away and puts a good swing on it.
Ball one to Matthew Batten. Struck out looking, grounded out. Loaded swing comes up empty. We saw San Martin the other day, Chris, and it looked like in that outing the breaking ball was about as sharp and as biting as it's been.
You know, pitchers are like every other athlete. You know, you have good days and bad days. You have mediocre days. You try to limit the number of bad days you have, and that's where you work on your consistency. But you know, when he spins it right, his breaking ball is, I think it's his go-to pitch. A little slider that kind of breaks down on a right-hander, almost hits him in the back foot, similar to the one that Lodolo throws. That one.
Shovel to second. India. Double play. Kids in attendance receive a Reds calendar courtesy of Kroger while supplies last. First plate appearance for Chad Pinder as he stands in the Tyler Stevenson spot. Couple of quick strikes. Corey Howell is now in left. Jacob Marcy in right. And Allison Quintero is now the catcher. 3-pitch game. Let's take a look at the DP that closed last inning, Chris.
Well, you get a little ground ball off that slider from San Martin, and this is just tailor-made. We call it DP lane, but what makes it fun to watch was that little flip of the glove, the highlight system move by the shortstop Newman. Good turn by the second baseman Jonathan India, and a pitcher's best friend. That's San Martin in the dugout talking to, we talk so much about Derek Johnson, the pitching coach, but his assistant pitching coach, Adon Leishman, is new this year, came over from the Seattle Mariners. He was a AAA pitching coach for them last year, and he's having a little conversation with San Martin. Look out.
Lost. Nick Senzel up to second base.
You can kind of see that coming, couldn't you? Anytime you start seeing a fielder kind of circling around, and then it's like, uh-oh moment right there. Now, the only thing the hitter can do once you become a base runner is run and get on in there to second base.
Well, Senzel coming off the toe injury suffered going into the wall later stage of last year. He was still on the scooter at the start of the spring. He's in great shape.
It's amazing. I mean, he was on the scooter, meaning one leg was elevated, kind of kneeing his way around camp, and now he's playing in a big league game.
Jam job pop. 2 down. They pinch the right center gap here. So Liberato, look how shallow he is edging toward right center. If Steer were to go to left center, lifts this to right, breaking back Marcy. That dies.
CMAX presents The Cycle of Savings.
Suck it up and do your job, and I get we're I guess voices of stability behind the plate. The game kind of starts and begins with us.
With so much stuff that we have to deal with between the taking care of the pitchers, all the bullpens, getting beat up, still having to go out there and hit, being the leader of the team, like all of this stuff goes into what mental toughness is.
Our body language, how we attack the game, is going to do a lot. We can't really give in and be disappointed if pitcher makes a bad pitch work, because it's going to show throughout everybody else.
Edition of Access Reds coming up immediately following this game, and we'll take you through day in the life of a catcher. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. Catchers get paid double during spring training because they work that hard. That's coming up after the game.
Well, thank you, Jim. You did a great job on that feature, by the way. First pitch to Colway. Buck Farmer is in. That's strike one. What does Farmer do best?
Well, he gives you consistency, and that's what he gave the Reds last year after spending his first 8 years of his career with the Detroit Tigers last year. 44 games for him. He nailed down a couple of saves, but he's available to pitch. I mean, he's a guy that is around the plate. He's not going to, strike out everybody that he faces, but he is available, and he's consistent. And that's what all a manager really wants. That's a pretty nice breaking ball he has. Got hit around a little bit earlier in the spring, but he's throwing the ball better and better. That is disappearing.
Last year, he got sent down to AAA, and he was outstanding in his last 34 outings.
So the other thing the Farmer does very well is he keeps the ball in the ballpark. In 44 games last year, he gave up only 2 home runs. That's huge for a late inning reliever.
And particularly a Great American Ballpark is a home stadium. And you see Will Myers behind him. He's now at first. Bossler's gone to third. Spencer Steer is now the shortstop. And Pinder's in right.
You know, the Padre fans that came out here to watch this exhibition game tonight might be just a little bit disappointed because you're not seeing really any, except Nelson Cruz's first time up, any of the projected starters for the Padres. I mean, their lineup, if you start looking at Xander Bogart, Juan Soto, Manny Machado, Jake Cronenworth, on down the line, I mean, they have got power. They've got guys on the who can run the bases. Fernando Tatis, after serving his 20 games, will be back and playing.
He'll be in corner outfield, though. And there are many in terms of those, guessing, and it means nothing. But projecting for this year, think the Padres might have finally tilted the seesaw and might be in front of the Dodgers. What do you think?
I don't know. The Dodgers are tough to beat. I mean, what did they win, 106 last year, 107, something like that. The Padres have had the last few seasons up and down, although last year, under their manager Bob Melvin, they were 89-73. They did lose to Philadelphia in the NCLS and LCS, and but they feel like they've made the changes. They certainly have spent a ton of money, and they hope to get some results.
Yeah, they did beat the Dodgers in the playoffs, but that's very different than what happens over 162.
Yeah.
Swing and a miss. Farmer strikes him out. Reds pitching overwhelms this Padres lineup, and the Reds take it 4-1.
This last pitch by Buck Farmer, good enough. We'll see it again. Little slider down and away, had him chasing, and that's really the way the Padres have gone all night long. They chase a lot of breaking pitches. Graham Ashcraft dominant with his pitch. That slider slash curveball of his just looks as good as any I've seen. You've got to be excited from what you've seen tonight.
Opening day will be a week from tomorrow. Chris, this spring has been a lot of fun being back with you.
It has, John, and our games went very quickly, and I think the games that for real will be very quick. I'll tell you what, folks, if you have not picked up opening day tickets, there are still some available, and come out to the ballpark, because this is a new brand of baseball. With the pitch clock, the excitement of this ball club, I'm pretty fired up.
And you'll be there along with Barry Larkin. We'll have a three-man booth for opening day. It starts with Reds Live at 10 a.m. The Findlay Market opening day parade coverage at noon. Reds Live, the pregame program at 2:30. It'll be Reds Pirates at 4. Simulcast on WKRC, and postgame with Reds Live right after the contest. The pageantry of opening day is back a week from tomorrow. That's going to wrap up our spring training broadcast slate. Thanks for being with us from Arizona. We will talk to you again by the riverfront from Great American Ballpark. The Reds go out on Bally Sports Ohio with beautiful pitching and hopefully more to come throughout this campaign. We hope you join us. The final in this finale on the Bally Sports Ohio 4-1 Redlegs. For Chris Welsh, Jim Day, and our outstanding crew, this is John Sadak. So long from Goodyear. We'll be back in Cincinnati.